Namaskar. As you all know, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan has been organizing series of lectures on Vedas, Upanishads, and so on. Today, as part of Anand Sirur Endowment lecture program, we are presenting before you a talk by Dr. Sudha Tinaikar on the topic Relevance of our Scriptures for All Times. Dr. Sudha Tinaikar, a medical professional, specialist in general physician, and a diabologist, has been practicing in Bangalore for the last 35 years. Apart from her medical profession, Dr. Sudha Tinaikar was exposed to the teachings of Vedanta since her childhood and was deeply inclined to learning it from illustrious gurus. This search took her to Swami Dayananda Saraswati of Arsha Vidya Gurukulam in the year 2000, and since then she has been learning Advaita Vedanta and has been teaching the same since 2003. She pursued Vedanta under late Swami Dayananda Saraswati of Arsha Vidya Gurukulam in Coimbatore and Rishikesh, India from the year 2000. She continued her Vedanta studies under Guru Swami Paramartha Nanda of Arsha Vidya Gurukulam, Chennai, India. She belonged to the illustrious Advaita Guru Parampara of Sri Chitrapur Mutt with a 300-year heritage of 10 Advaita Gurus. She has learnt Advaita Vedanta from the present Guru Swami Satyajot Shankarashram. She started teaching Vedanta with the permission of late Swami Dayananda Saraswati and Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati in 2013. She is presently teaching various batches of students in groups at different locations in Bangalore where Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita and other prakaranas are being taught. Also taught are Sankara Bhashya of Mundaka, Katha and Taittiriya Upanishad to advanced level students. May I now request Dr. Sudha Tinaikar to deliver her talk.
ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ. Today I am going to talk about what is the relevance of our scriptures. Are they relevant for all periods of time? Because of late, many people say that all our scriptures are very old and they were probably valid at a time thousands of years ago, in the Vedic times probably or earlier, and they are no longer scientific and they are no longer valid. This is the opinion of some people, and therefore many people ask, are the Vedas or are our scriptures still valid? So today my talk is centered on this subject, that Vedas are, or our scriptures, which are called as Vedas, I'll tell you, our scriptures are relevant even today, and our scriptures are relevant for all periods of time. It's not only that they were relevant in the Vedic period, but they are relevant for all periods of time. This is what is going to be the focus of my topic that I'm going to talk today. For this, I have divided this entire topic of the relevance of our scriptures is for all times. I have divided this topic into basically 4 headings. First thing I'll be telling you is, what are our scriptures? What is the meaning of scriptures and what are our scriptures? Secondly, who are the recipients of the scriptural knowledge? Whatever is given in the scriptures, the knowledge that is given in scriptures, who are the recipients of this knowledge? Third thing I'm going to talk about is, what is the content of our scriptures? The fourth one is there any scientific evidence, or are scriptures or our scriptures scientific? Which is a very common question asked these days. So let us start with what our scriptures are. Our scriptures are the primary body of knowledge, which are also called as Vedas. Vedas are the primary body of knowledge. And it is said that these Vedas are not a product of any human mind. No human being wrote these Vedas, but the Vedas came along with the creation. It is said that when Lord or when God or Lord, or we have heard of this Ishvara Brahman, this creation took place from that Lord. Along with the creation, the Vedas also came in. Therefore, the Vedas are things which are the body of knowledge, body of knowledge, which are not a product of any human mind. And it is therefore our Vedas are called as Apaurusheya. Apaurusheya. It's a body of knowledge. And it is a body of knowledge where we are having, certain very, very important aspects of human life which are happening here. And that is, described or explained in a very, very beautiful way by the scriptures. They are called as the primary scriptures or the Vedas. Then we have got our secondary scriptures. Based on the primary scriptures only, a human mind or a human brain is something which would have written some kind of commentary over the primary scriptures called as the Vedas, or would have written some kind of prakaranas over the primary knowledge called as Vedas. And therefore we have these secondary granthas or the secondary body of knowledge, and these are called as the Smriti granthas. Veda is called as a Shruti grantha because Vedas came without any human effort of writing it. It came along with the creation, and this were Vedas, being the primary body of knowledge, they are sacrosanct. They are sacrosanct for Sanatana Dharma. But then, later on, based on these Vedas, many acharyas like Vyasacharya, like Shankaracharya, Gaudapadacharya, various acharyas wrote a lot of secondary scriptures based on the Shruti, which are called as the Smriti Granthas. So we can say that our primary body of knowledge or Vedas can be divided into Shruti Granthas and Smriti Granthas. And we have a particular term called as a Prasthanatraya. What is the meaning of Prasthanatraya? Prasthanatraya is those who are interested in the knowledge given by the Vedas. They have to compulsorily study 3 types of texts. One is what is called as the Upanishads, which is the Shruti, and then we have Bhagavad Gita, which is the Smriti Grantha, and Brahma Sutras, also which is called as the Smriti Grantha. So basically, these are our primary and secondary bodies of knowledge, Shruti Granthas and Smriti Granthas. Later on, of course, we have certain other granthas also, other bodies of knowledge also, like the Puranas, Itihasa, etc. And it has been said that a Smriti Grantha like Bhagavad Gita has been translated into more than 85 languages all over the world. It has been translated into more than 85 languages all over the world, and more than 50 Indian languages Bhagavad Gita itself is translated. The Upanishads and the Brahma Sutras and the other Shruti Granthas are also translated into various other languages. And even today, people who are interested in this knowledge, even today, they are studying these Granthas. Even today, Bhagavad Gita is the most popularly studied scripture of ours. Upanishads, Brahma Sutras are very popularly studied scriptures, especially those mumukshus or those who are interested in knowing what our scriptures are about to say. This is a very, very brief introduction to what our scriptures are. Now let us go to the next topic as to what is the relevance of these scriptures as far as the recipients of these scriptures are considered. Who are the recipients of these scriptures? Naturally, human beings are the recipients of these pictures, these scriptures. Of course, animals do not have an adhikara for this knowledge. No other jiva, our scriptures say, no other jiva in any other loka has got an adhikara for this kind of a knowledge. And this knowledge, the scriptural knowledge, is meant for a human being. Why is it that a human being is the apt recipient of this knowledge of the Vedas? The reason we give is, the reason what our Shastras give is that a human being is the one who has a choice. Ishvara or God has given this human birth to us with a choice. That is, I have a choice in choosing what I want. I can make a choice. I can go this way, I can go that way, I can do this thing, I can do that thing, whatever it is. But unfortunately, it is this choice that I, as the human being, have is the cause of all my conflicts. It is said that a human being is in conflict because he has choice and he does not know what is the right choice for him. It is a common experience for all of us that we have choice, but we do not know what we have to choose. Which would be the right choice for us, we do not know. And therefore, the Shastra also talks about the various human choices and the various pursuits that a human being can pursue. And the human pursuits are called as Purusharthas. Purusharthas are the human pursuits where one can pursue a material way of life. One can pursue what is called as the Artha Kama Purusharthas. A Purushartha means what? A human pursuit is called as Purushartha. That means I have a choice in selecting what I want. And our scriptures divide this entire human pursuit into 4 branches or 4 types called as the 4 Purusharthas. One is called as the Artha Kama Purushartha, we can take it as one group, Dharma Moksha Purushartha as the other group. And in a very important Upanishad called as the Kathopanishad, Lord Yama, who is the teacher, who is the Acharya of this Upanishad, says that a human being has basically 2 choices. He can be an Artha Kama Pradhana choice, means what? I choose the worldly goal as my object. I want only material security, material happiness, enjoy my desires as much as possible, keep myself secure, accumulate things the way I want, and enjoy this world also, and probably do some karma with the money I have, and accrue some punya, and maybe enjoy better worlds after death. So Dharma Purushartha also to some extent comes along with Artha Kama Purushartha only. So what am I selecting in Dharma Artha Kama Purushartha? See, it's sometimes very difficult to put Dharma Purushartha along with Artha Kama. It is somewhere in between. What is Dharma Purushartha? Dharma Artha Kama Moksha we say. What is Dharma Purushartha? That I want to do certain things in a certain way as described by our scriptures or Vedas and accrue punya. And this accrued punya takes me to higher lokas when this body is no longer there, that is for life to come later. Or in this particular life itself, I have got very comfortable situation to live in. That means basically accrual of punya by doing the right kinds of things is called as the Dharma Purushartha. And Artha Kama Purusharthas are basically, I want a comfortable living in this world. I want to accumulate as much material benefits as possible, as many as material acquisitions are possible. Therefore, I feel secure here where I am, and at the same time I am able to enjoy whatever I desire, Artha Kama. Rakshartham arthyate iti arthaha. I want to protect myself, I want to be secure, and therefore I accumulate a lot of resources in the form of money, property, anything else. So Rakshartham, for my security, I accumulate resources. This is called as Artha Purushartha or Artha. What is Kama? I want to enjoy. Kamyate iti Kama. Kamartham kamyate iti Kama. I want to enjoy my life with certain desires that I have, Artha Kama. And in Kathopanishad, Bhagavan Yamadharmaraja, who actually is the teacher or Acharya, names this Artha Kama Purushartha as Preyo Marga or Preyas. Whereas there are some people who have realized that my choice of selecting Artha Kama has not led me anywhere. Ultimately, whatever I have gained by Artha Kama pursuits is only very, very ephemeral, very, very temporary. Whatever results or phalam that I have got out of Artha Kama is anitya phalam, and I'm still feeling very, very bound to all the karma phalas, whatever I have gained. I'm not happy with whatever I have. Therefore, I have to look for some pursuit which gives me that everlasting happiness. I'm not interested in this, a few glimpses of happiness, sukha for some time and dukha later. I do not want this kind of a sukha. I want that pursuit which gives me this permanent sense of peace, security and happiness. And what Yamadharmaraja says is this particular marga, where I choose the ultimate freedom from bondage, is called as a Shreyo Marga or Shreyas. So Preyas and Shreyas are the two choices that a human being has. Now, why does a human being want to exercise the choice? What is this problem with the human being that he has to keep on running after one choice or the other? It is said that a human being is always in conflict because he does not know what he has to choose. What is the reason for his conflict? That is one thing very important to know. Why I am talking about this is, who is the recipient of this knowledge of the Vedas? Who are the people who are being addressed by the Vedas? That is, when a human being has a choice, a human being has a conflict. What is this conflict? What is the basic conflict a human being has, which is the fundamental human problem? The fundamental human problem that all of us have is a sense of inadequacy, which our Shastras call as apurnatvam. I always feel inadequate. I cannot accept myself the way I am. The inadequacy is so much that I am always desiring for something or the other to fulfill me. I am not happy the way I am. I am not happy or fulfilled with whatever I have. There is always a sense of lack in me. Because of this sense of lack in me, I always want to pursue something, get something, become something, be somewhere. So there is always this desire to be something else, to be somewhere else. And this particular thing is what is called as the apurnatvam. Because of this apurnatvam, all of us have that. Yeah, I have everything, but still there is something lacking in me. Why am I lacking something? I do not know that. That is what the Shastra is going to address later. That I am lacking something is my fundamental problem. And I feel that I can fulfill that lack by going after material pursuits of life in the form of artha and kama purushartha. Then what do I find? Whatever I have done, whatever pursuit I have pursued, gives me only a temporary peace, security and happiness, which lasts for a very short time, and again I am back in the same situation of apurnatvam. So apurnatvam has led me to raga or kama, to acquire things or to become something else. And with this acquisition, desire or raga, I am not fulfilled and I am again sad, shoka. Shoka is there, sadness, sorrow is there. And then I have a deep sense of confusion or delusion, which is called as moha. This delusion makes me go after one thing after the other. So what is it basically? Our scriptures say it is this apurnatvam regarding yourself which pushes you into raga or kama, and then you realize that I have got nothing going after all these things. It is only a physical strain and mental strain, and there is shoka. And then without understanding why this particular thing is caused, I keep on repeating the same thing out of delusion or moha. So whatever scriptures, especially Bhagavad Gita, what it says is, raga, shoka, moha is the basic fundamental human problem, and that is what is called as samsara. So we always say the bondage of samsara. What is this bondage of samsara? Raga, shoka, moha. which is born out of a basic sense of inadequacy or apurnatvam. Why is this inadequacy or apurnatvam is there in the first place? That is what the Shastra is going to address. That is what all our Upanishads are going to address. What is the reason, hey human being, why do you have this kind of apurnatvam or inadequacy in yourself? Why are you going after temporary, ephemeral pursuits and then suffer the same thing again? So this samsara perpetuates itself. That, what is that? Apurnatvam, raga, shoka, moha. Apurnatvam, raga, shoka, moha, samsara. Samsarati iti samsaraha. That keeps repeating itself again and again and again, and it is samsaraha. Let me give an example of this particular samsara. Two incidents of those people who lived long ago. That is Narada, Devarishi Narada. Can you imagine? Devarishi Narada had that apurnatvam in himself. So if Narada of those times, who is Narada after all? He is a person who can just enter into any of the 14 lokas without any kind of a restriction, without any visa requirements or passport requirements. He is the closest and he has an immediate reach to the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. And Devarishi Narada is a scholar in 64 Vidyas. And this Narada of ours, of your, Narada doesn't belong to this generation. He is Narada, we have seen in our scriptures, in Puranas, that old, that Narada had sorrow, it seems. And in Chandogya Upanishad, an Upanishad called as Chandogya Upanishad, there is one chapter called Bhuma Vidya, where this Narada, our Narada, he who knows Sarva Vidya Parangata Narada goes to Sanat Kumara, his guru, and he asks him, hey Sanat Kumara, I know 64 Vidyas, and he rattles off all the Vidyas he knows. In spite of all these things, in spite of my scholarship in so many Vidyas, aham shochami, I am surrounded or I am full of sorrow. But, hey Sanat Kumara, I have heard tarati shokam atmavid. That means what? There is a way by which one can cross over this ocean of samsara. Shokam. Shokam. This raga is also samsara. Shoka is samsara. Moha is samsara. All the three put together we call as samsara. And Narada says aham shochami. But I have heard tarati shokam atmavititi. Hey Sanat Kumara, what is that I have to know to cross over this sorrow, this ocean of sorrow? So you can imagine, at that time, a person like Narada had the same problem which we have today. Don't we all suffer from inadequacy? Don't we all want to be somewhere else than what we are? Not happy with what I have, where I am, I want to become, I want to be somewhere else. This is my problem now. This is all our problem now. Same problem Narada had at that time. So you can see the relevance of our Shastra from Narada onwards to me. It has been coming, it is there. Then let's take, then of course in this Bhuma Vidya, ultimately Sanat Kumara Guru gives him this knowledge of the scriptures. The ultimate core of the teaching of this knowledge of our scriptures, saying that you are not the Apurna Jiva, but you are that Purna Atma, Purna Brahman iti, that knowledge which we call as Atma Jnana is given to Narada. Let us take another example of Arjuna, 5,000 years ago, when this war was fought, Kurukshetra war was fought. Who is Arjuna? Arjuna is a warrior, par excellence, son of Indra. He has fought wars for Indra against Asuras. He has fought against Lord Shiva and won the Pashupatastra. Such a Arjuna, when he is on the battlefield, when he has to fight a Dharma Yuddha, finds himself in confusion. He finds himself helpless. A warrior like Arjuna finds himself helpless. He has a choice. He has a choice of fighting the war, or he has the choice of leaving the war field and going away. And he does not know which choice he should exercise. He is absolutely afraid in such a way that when he looks at the opposite party, the fear is not of fighting the war. The fear is not whether he wins or loses. But when he sees his own grandfather, his gurus, his loved ones on the opposite side, and when he has to kill them all in the war to come, suddenly his choice wavers. Should I fight this war or not? Should I do this or not? And actually at that time Arjuna wants to run away. He wants to take up sannyasa. He says, I don't mind living on bhiksha. I will go away. His Gandiva literally slips away from his hand. His hands are shaking, his feet are shaking, he's sweating, and he just collapses on the floor of the Ratha and tells Arjuna, Karpanya dosha apahata svabhavaha. Prichhami tvam dharma samudha chetaha. I am confused. I am deluded. I don't know what I should do. What is my swadharma here? What is it that I am supposed to do? I don't know. I am confused. Karpanya dosha. I am confused. I am helpless. Hey Krishna, you were my friend all this time. But now I surrender to you as my Guru. Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. I surrender to you, O Krishna. Tell me what I should do in this situation. What is the best for me? What should I do? What is Shreyas for me? That's why Yamadharmaraja says in the Kathopanishad, a person can choose a Shreyo Marga or Preyo Marga. The choice is yours. But understand that the two are exactly opposite to each other. As long as you think that you can exercise the choice and go after material pursuits, you are going to be unhappy forever. But if you choose the Shreyo Marga, then one day or the other, this knowledge which is given by our Vedas is going to free you from your samsara here and now, once and for all, it is going to free you. So, if you say, is it relevant today? Are our Shastras? Yes. The same problem was faced by Narada. The same problem was faced by Arjuna. The same problem was faced by all the Shishyas of our Upanishads who went and asked their gurus for this knowledge so that they could be free from their bondage. So where are our scriptures? Are they meant for a BC time or something like that, or are they meant for us? Aren't we the same human beings? The human psyche is the same. Every human being, starting from the time the human race started, has experienced the same problem. And we are bound by our own raga, kama, that is raga, and then our shoka and moha. We are bound by this samsara. We are bound as though we are bound. We are bound by this samsara. And it is meant, our Shastras, our scriptures, which contain the Shruti in the form of Upanishads, the Smriti in the form of Bhagavad Gita and other Prakarana Granthas, and also the Brahma Sutra, when we see these scriptures are meant for any human being who feels this bondage. There is no question of time. There is no question of it is irrelevant now. It is meant for all times, because whoever has this sense of bondage, whoever has a difficulty in making a choice, preyo margaha va shreyo margaha iti, the one who has a difficulty in choosing, and then I have to make up my mind. There is an Upanishad called as a Mundaka Upanishad, where a person says, the Upanishad says, Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmanaha nirvedamayat nasti akrita kritena tad vijnanaya tvam gurumeva bhigachet samitpanihi shrotriyam brahmanishtam. So it says that a very rare person like Arjuna or Narada, or many of those yogis or many of those mumukshus, they realize that all the karma phala that I have accumulated by following artha and kama purushartha have not really stood by me. My samsara continues. I continue to be a samsari, and therefore I should know what it is that frees me from samsara. Whom should I ask? What is it that gives me ultimate freedom from samsara? This is a recipient of our Shastra. And our Shastra or Vedas, they have fortunately two parts. One is called as the Karma Kanda, one is called as the Jnana Kanda. If a person continues to be in Arthakama Purushartha, the Karma Kanda of our Vedas, also called as Veda Purva, tells these people, okay, I will help you how to get what you want. I will tell you dharmically, you want artha, you want to accumulate money, you want to go to higher lokas, you want to attain Swarga Loka, I will tell you what to do about it. Dharmically, you can attain whatever you want in the Arthakama Purushartha. I have ways and means, what you should do, how you should do, what kind of a karma you should do, what kind of an upasana you should do, I will tell you, says the Veda Purva. But at the same time, a person who feels, I have had enough of bondage, now I want freedom from this bondage forever, for such a person, Vedanta comes in and says, hey Manusha, hey Jiva, I know your problem. Whatever is your problem, I know. I have a way out of this problem. I can take you out of this bondage that you are feeling and help you to get out of this bondage. There is a text called as Viveka Chudamani. And in this, a student goes to the teacher. Acharya Shankaracharya has written this Viveka Chudamani. The Shishya goes to the teacher and says, I am feeling the bondage. And he says, what is this bondage that I am feeling? Ko nama bandhaha. Kuthamesha agataha. From where has it come? Kathamesha agataha. How has it come? And asya ka pratishtha. What is it that is keeping this bondage of mine continuously? Is there a way for me to get out of this knowledge? Hey Guru, I surrender to you. Is there a way of getting out of this knowledge? And the Guru says, Samsara arnava tarane asti upayaha. He says, Ma bhaishtam tavanasti apayaha. Don't worry, hey Shishya, tavanasti apayaha. You are not doomed. This samsara, which is right now you are feeling doomed by this samsara, it can be dealt with. Tavanasti apayaha. Samsara arnavayoho tarane. Samsara arnavas tarane. There is upaya. There is an upaya. There is a way where you can get out of this samsara. And I am going to tell you that. And whatever the gurus, like Sanat Kumara in Narada's case, or Lord Krishna in Arjuna's case, especially Arjuna was in a situation where a fratricidal war was being fought. And in such a situation, he realized his limitation. He realized what kind of a bondage he had. Therefore, what kind of a recipient do our Shastras actually address? It is to a person, to a human being, of any time. It may be the Vedic times, before that times, any yuga, it does not matter, or today's. Any person who feels insecure, inadequate, not capable of accepting himself the way he is, self-inadequacy, the one who is bound by the, what you call as the samsara of raga, shoka, moha. And a person who is seriously interested in getting out of this bondage. These are the recipients, the fit recipients of this knowledge. These are the fit recipients of our Shastra, because Shastra addresses such recipients. If a person is not ready for this knowledge, if a person does not want this knowledge, if a person is happy with his Arthakama Purusharthas, then our scriptures say Sukhi Bhava, Ayushman Bhava. Our scriptures have no role for such a person. Our scriptures can help a person who chooses them. Therefore, whoever feels this bondage and goes to the scriptures for a solution, and our scriptures do not solve incidental problems. Our scriptures are not solving the incidental problems, they are solving the fundamental problem. Arjuna had to fight a war, that was an incidental problem. Each of us have our own wars that we are fighting, incidental problems. Our Vedas, our Vedanta, our scriptures do not address our incidental problems because we know Arjuna knows how to fight the war. Narada knows how to do his duty. We all know what we should do in incidental or situational problems. Our Vedas do not talk to us about the situational problems. They talk to us about our basic fundamental problem of apurnatvam, raga, shoka and moha. That is what is being talked about, and anybody who feels this seriously is a recipient of the knowledge that our scriptures give. Now, the third section we'll come to. What is the third section? In this section, what is it, the content of our scriptures? What is the content? The content which we saw what are our scriptures, what they are primarily body of knowledge, different kinds of scriptures we talked about. And then we talked about who are the recipients who are going to be benefited by this knowledge. And with the examples of, Krishna and his, Shishya Arjuna. And also we saw Sanat Kumara and his Shishya Narada. And we saw how it is relevant. The scriptures are relevant. The recipient is what is important. And it is the same recipient today. We are not different. It is the same human mind which was there in, though Narada is a Devarishi, the same mind was there in him, the same mind in Arjuna, which was full of apurnatvam, that was there. Now let us see, what is the content, what is it that the scriptures are trying to tell us? The scriptures accept our bondage. The scriptures actually do not straight away say that you are unbound, you have no bondage, you are Nitya Shuddha Buddha Atma iti. Initially the scriptures will not talk to us anything about it. Initially the scriptures are with us and say, yes, you have bondage. I will tell you what is the genesis of your bondage. What is it that is causing you the bondage, I will tell you. So what is bandha? I will tell you. 6 things which our Upanishads, our Shastras talk about. What is this bandha? What is it? What is the meaning of this bandha? You are feeling a sense of limitation, a sense of unfulfilled feeling. That is what is called as a bondage. But what is actually the meaning of bondage, I'll tell you. What is the genesis of this bondage? How this bondage has come about, that's what I'm going to tell you. Third thing is, what is it that continues this bondage? What is it that continues this bondage? For lives and lives together. We are coming back again and again and again. We are coming back into various bodies. Human bodies sometimes, maybe sometimes animal bodies, sometimes plant bodies, whatever it may be. But then we are coming back again and again into this samsara. If that is so, is there a way out of this bandha for you? Is this bondage something which you can get out? Then, if you can get out of this bondage, what is that getting out of this bondage called? What is it that you are looking for? You are looking for freedom from bondage, and not a temporary freedom. A freedom once and for all, forever. And this freedom from bondage, once and for all, is called as moksha in our scriptures. So therefore, what is moksha and what are the sadhanas for moksha? These are the topics that are talked about in all our scriptures. Whether it is the Upanishads or whether it is the Bhagavad Gita, they are all moksha shastras. Whether it is Brahma Sutra, they are all moksha shastras. So the scriptures first come to my level and say, yes, I accept that you are bound, but the reason for your bondage is, it says, you do not know the reality of yourself and the world. You think you are an individual separate from the other individuals. You think you are different from God or Ishvara. You think that you have to protect yourself as an individual from other individuals. You have to protect yourself from the Jagat. You have to protect yourself from Ishvara. And you do not know what you are, what is the Jiva Swarupam, what is the Ishvara Swarupam, what is the Jagat Swarupam. You do not know. That is the reason for your bondage. Unfortunately, whatever you see in the Jagat with various names and forms and this body, mind, sense complex, you take it as the reality. This is the basic teaching of Vedanta. This is the basic teaching of our scriptures. What it says is that, you are always looking at yourself as a jiva and you have a Jagat to face. Protect yourself from the Jagat. And you have an Ishvara, God, who is taking care of both of you. This Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara separateness or Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara Bheda is the basic cause of your bondage. Of course, in a small session like this, I can only give small, tips of what the contents of scriptures are, because all these are big topics by themselves which are discussed in the Upanishad. So, the Upanishads or our scriptures say, your bondage is because you do not know the reality, the real Swarupam of you, the Jiva, the Jagat and Ishvara. And this is actually the reason why you are having bondage, which is continuing. But then I will teach you what is the Swarupam of you, the Jiva. Are you the one you are thinking yourself to be? When somebody asks me who I am, what do I say? I say, I am so and so. I was born at such and such a time. I have this body. I identify myself with this body, mind, sense complex. I identify with the world with the other body, mind, sense complexes. And I have some concept about Ishvara or God, and I connect to that concept with the name and form or whatever it is. What the scripture says, ultimately, your bondage is because you think you are different from the Jagat, you are different from Ishvara, you think there is a Bheda or the difference between Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, which is the basic problem that you have. So what is the truth that the Upanishads are trying to tell me? What are our scriptures trying to tell me? Ultimately it says, your bondage can be gone only when you realize that there is only one common thing behind the Jiva, behind the Jagat and Ishvara. And that common sutra, which is flowing through everybody, that common content of the Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara is called as Atma or Brahman or consciousness. And ultimately it says, that which is there in reality, the absolute reality is this Atma. Atma or Brahman is the absolute reality. Other than that, whatever you see everywhere is nothing but an appearance, it says. Therefore, the ultimate teaching of our scriptures is what? What is your bondage? Why the bondage has come about? If I know why it has come about, then the knot of bondage can be removed. And our scriptures say, this bondage has come to you because of this sajnana, this ignorance. What is this ignorance? I do not know the reality of myself. I do not know the reality of the Jagat. I do not know the reality of Ishvara. This ignorance which I am born with, I am not responsible for it. I have been coming lives and lives. I am born with this capital called as the avidya or ignorance, in which I am not aware of my real nature. What is the reality of the Jagat? What is the reality of God or Ishvara? You do not know. That's what the scriptures say. This sajnana is the reason for your bondage. And if you want to get rid of this bondage, this ignorance has to go. And if this ignorance has to go, the scriptures have to talk to me in a certain manner. And there is a procedure or a process by which gradually our scriptures are taking us from this bondage onwards to total freedom. There are different steps. It's not so easy that just if the Upanishad tells me that your bondage is because of avidya. What is avidya? What is the meaning of this ignorance? How this ignorance has affected me? How this ignorance is causing me apurnatvam? How this so-called ignorance is responsible for my bondage? What is the meaning of jiva? What is the meaning of jagat? What is the meaning of Ishvara? When I say the jiva, is the jiva only that consciousness or something else? So all these things are very, very gradually unfolded by our Shastra, starting from where we are. And ultimately our scriptures take us to that truth which is the fundamental truth or the central truth which is given in all the Upanishads, which is called as Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. This is the central ultimate teaching, to teach or to make us understand what our bondage is and get out of this bondage. The Upanishad ultimately has to bring in this core teaching of our scriptures, that is, the only reality is this consciousness called Brahman. Everything else other than that is only an experiential reality which is called as mithya. Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, the jiva is not different from the other jivas, the jiva is not different from Ishvara. So, the very common content of the jiva, jagat and Ishvara is nothing but this consciousness called as Atma or Brahman. And our scriptures say this is the knowledge which frees you from your bondage. Therefore, this knowledge is not something which was meant for some time. The same bondage is felt by all of us. What was felt earlier by the earlier scholars also, the earlier Shishyas also. There are these scriptures with the Gurus, Shishyas. Thousands of Shishyas have gone to their Gurus, portraying their ignorance and asking for this knowledge so that they can be free from this bandhana called as samsara. So this is the content of our scriptures. With this we can understand that our scriptures have to be relevant for all times, because the bondage that is felt by the human being is the same. Whether it is Narada or Arjuna, I have taken only two examples of those exalted jivas when they could feel this bondage and wanted freedom from this bondage and went to a guru for this. Even people like us, today also, we are subject to the same bondage of avidya, apurnatvam, raga, shoka, moha, rupi, samsara. And our Upanishads say that if you want us, the scriptures means I am taking Upanishads as our scriptures. If we want our scriptures to benefit us, the scriptures say, please surrender yourself to a guru. Independent study of the Shastra may not be useful because the Shastra is very cryptic. It talks about various things in a very, very cryptic manner. You may not be able to understand. On the other hand, you may misunderstand what is told in the Shastra. Therefore, tad vijnanartham saha gurumeva abhigachet samit panihi shrotriyam brahmanishtam. Even Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says you have to go tadviddi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. So for this knowledge, don't study independently. Go to a sampradaya with guru who can hand out this knowledge, make the difficult things in our scriptures clear to you, open up the words of the Shruti for you. What does a guru do? A guru uses the pramana of the Shrutis and opens up the Shruti or our scriptures. These are all parallel, names, scriptures, Shruti, Upanishads, Vedas. They can all be talked about from a common name point of view. Therefore, our scriptures only say, they themselves say that you come to me through the guru. A guru who knows how to handle the words given by me, the scriptures say. A guru, a sampradaya with guru, a shrotriya brahmanishta guru will be able to open up the words of the Shastra to you and take you gradually from your bondage to the freedom. Therefore, we dealt the three sections. What are our scriptures? Who are the recipients of our scriptures? Thirdly, what is the content of our scriptures? In a very, very brief manner, I have discussed what is the content of our scriptures. Now, the last topic I would take is, many people nowadays, they think they are rational and they say, we don't believe in the scriptures because they cannot be proved scientifically. Are our scriptures scientific? Are yours, this is what they say, are our scriptures or our Vedas scientific? Can you prove scientifically that our Vedas, what they say is real? We have to understand one thing. Whatever is the instrument of knowledge which we use to understand the validity of something, that instrument of knowledge functions in only that field. You have to understand one thing. For example, I'll tell you. My eyes can see only forms and colors. Supposing my eyes cannot see, for some reason my eyes are not able to see, I am blind. Can my other sense organs see the forms and colors? They cannot see. My eye can function as a pramana, as an instrument of knowledge, only in the field of color and forms. My ear can function as an instrument of knowledge or pramana only in the field of sound. Supposing you want to measure temperature, you have to use thermometer. You can't use a barometer. So in whichever field, whatever instrument of knowledge has to be used, that instrument of knowledge only is valid in that particular field. Similarly, it is said, our scriptures are not coming in the field of a scientific or a thing which can be proved by science. Our scriptures can't be, they are neither scientific nor unscientific. Our scriptures are trans-scientific. That means what? Our scriptures are totally a different field of knowledge. Science is a total different field of knowledge. Therefore, whatever instruments we are using in the field of knowledge, in the field of science, to prove whatever it is or disprove whatever it is, those instruments of knowledge cannot be used here in our scriptures. Science is available to pratyaksha pramana. It is available to anumana pramana. It is available to arthapatti pramana. What is the meaning of this? Science is available to actually, you can see, you can infer, you can project, you can do all these things. You can reproduce. But our scriptures are beyond the pratyakshadi pramanas. That means any instrument of knowledge which we can use in this pratyakshadi field of knowledge, in the laukika knowledge, cannot be used in scriptures because we have a separate instrument of knowledge or pramana. We call it pramana, an instrument of knowledge which we use to know what is given in a certain body of knowledge. We call it as the pramana. What is the pramana? Here it is the shruti pramana. It is the shruti pramana. Shruti pramana means what? It is the pramana itself is, our scriptures are a pramana in themselves. You cannot prove scientifically whether what is said by our gurus, our scriptural gurus and our acharyas, whether that is correct or not. It is not something that can be proved by any meter. It is a different field. Therefore, to say that unless this is proved scientifically, I am not going to accept, then you are missing out on that body of knowledge. Each body of knowledge has its own instruments or pramana to understand, and what science uses as the instrument or pramana are very different from what our shastras use. Therefore, are our scriptures scientific? They cannot be proved or disproved by the science pramanas. They are trans-scientific because they go above that. They don't belong to this field at all. They need some other pramana which we call as shruti pramana. So it is not wise for us to say that whatever is there in the Upanishads should be proved by science pramana. It should not be there. But still nowadays, there are a lot of scientists, especially quantum physicists, who have found the teaching of our Upanishads to be correct. I told you just some time back, the basic teaching of the core teaching of the Upanishad is what? Our scriptures is what? Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Jagan Mithya is what? This Jagat that you are seeing outside is not really as you see it. It is something different. The way you perceive this world, as you perceive the world, is not that. It is something different. Of course, our Upanishads and our other scriptures talk about it. That's a totally different topic. If I can remind you, in 2022, the Nobel Prize laureates for physics, that is quantum physics, you know what their research was? They said the universe is not real. That is what our Vedas have been telling. That is what our Upanishads have been telling. Jagan Mithya. The world is not real means what? The world is not as you perceive it to be. The world is different. What you see here, what is available to your sense organs, is really not actually the world as it is. The world is not really there. The way you experience this world is different, and the truth of the world, the reality of the world is very different. So much of a research has come, and there have been 3 scientists. I forget their names now, these 3 scientists who have, and this year, 2022, they won the Nobel Prize for quantum physics, where they say the universe is unreal. It is not the way it appears. It is not the way, it is totally different. And we have some talks on that particular topic also, where what research they have done. So, for those people who say that without a scientific evidence, I am not going to accept whatever is told in the Vedas. Definitely, supposing I have no exposure to the Vedas, to the scriptures, and somebody comes and tells me, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, the world is not there, the world is false, the world is not real, I will not believe it. Because I have not gone through the systematic study and systematic approach in the studies of our scriptures. So ultimately, what do our scriptures do? Systematically, they start from where I am, like in the lower KG, wherever I am. A frank Ajnani, I don't know anything. I only want to get out of my bondage. And I have taken recourse to our scriptures. I have surrendered to the Guru. And now I am willing to walk the way, travel the entire way the scriptures want to take me. And they'll start from bondage. And then ultimately they'll tell me that, look, that consciousness which is the content in you is the very same consciousness which is the content in all other jivas. It is the very same consciousness which is in Ishvara also. That is why in Bhagavad Gita, after 12 chapters, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. May you know me as that consciousness in everything. When did he tell? Not in the first chapter, not in the second chapter. In the 13th chapter, Lord Krishna said, it is one common truth, one universal truth called as the consciousness or Brahman, which is behind everything. And if science has to prove it, there are no instruments in the hands of science. The very prabhana or the instrument of knowledge is our Vedas. They know how to prove it. Like a scientific experiment you do and come to the end point. Our scriptures know how to work out and derive the whole thing. And then they come to this final conclusion saying that you, the Atma, is Satyam. What you see as the Jagat with all its various names and forms is not what it appears to be. Ishvara is not what you think it to be. Ultimately, what really keeps everything together, that which is everywhere, is nothing but this Brahman or consciousness. This is something which cannot be proved scientifically. Therefore, if people ask, are the Vedas scientific? They are neither scientific nor unscientific. They are trans-scientific. They require a different instrument of knowledge to know that. And only those people who have gone into this field, they will know that what the Upanishads are saying is absolutely the truth. And the quantum physicists today are almost telling us the same thing that Vedanta or our scriptures have described thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. So with this, I conclude that whatever our scriptures have been saying is not a hearsay. It is not something like a story which is meant to just calm you down. Our scriptures are not going to give us temporary solutions to our situational problems. Our scriptures are meant to give us the permanent solution to the fundamental problems of a human being. And the scriptures are relevant to each and every human being who is interested in using that pramana and getting benefited. If I am not interested in that, then I will not be getting benefited. But the scriptures are valid even today, and a person who wants to get out of his bondage, see the genesis of his bondage and get out of it, scriptures, our scriptures are the only pramana. They will be relevant not only today, for all times to come, for all the past, the present, and eons of futures that are going to come. Our scriptures are going to be relevant because they talk about the fundamental human problems and the solution to the fundamental human problems. Om Tat Sat.